It is clearly stated here that the material world is not created by the personal will of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. It is created by the external energy because the living entities want to enjoy it. The material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy sense gratification, who constantly remain in transcendental loving service, and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them the spiritual world is eternally existing and they enjoy there. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that for those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this material world is useless, because this material world is full of danger at every step. It is not meant for devotees, but for living entities who want to lord it over the material energy at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that he allows the sense-enjoying living entities a separate world created by him to enjoy as they like. Yet at the same time he appears in his personal form. The Lord unwillingly creates this material world, but he descends in his personal form or sends one of his reliable sons or a servant or a reliable author like Vyasadeva to give instruction. He himself also instructs in his speeches of Bhagavad Gita. This propaganda work goes on side by side with the creation to convince the misguided living entities who are rotting in this material world to come back to him and surrender unto him. Therefore, the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is this: give up all your manufactured engagements in the material world and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. So, Kadam Muni is glorifying the Supreme Lord, and he is seeing the Lord's relationship with this material world, because he was a yogi who was well versed in the conclusion of the Vedic knowledge. Therefore he is stating that, my dear Lord, this creation is not done by you willfully, but it has been done by him, no doubt. He is the creator. He has created this material world just for the sensual satisfaction of the living entities. And then he prays, let your causeless mercy be upon us. And in the material world itself, you come in your transcendental form to show mercy upon the living entities. So this has to be understood very nicely. The situation of the living entities in this material world and why the Lord creates this material world. It is very clear here that the Lord is creating this material world not very happily. As it is mentioned here, Prabhupada says that the Lord unwillingly creates this material world. He creates, but he unwillingly creates. He is not happy about creating this material world. Just like the government is not happy about creating a prison. If there are no prisoners, the government is very happy. But however, for the sake of rest of the citizens, for the sake of normal life for the rest of the citizens, a prison house is created out of compulsion. Out of compulsion, compassion. Lord has no compulsion. He has no normal compulsions. The Lord has to be never seen as having any compulsions, except he has got a lot of loving compulsions. When love comes, there is a lot of compulsions. So the Supreme Lord, out of loving compulsion, compassionately creates this material world for the living entities to enjoy sense gratification. Sense gratification means it is the total holistic sense gratification. It is not that the living entity, only some 5 senses they want to satisfy. Whenever in the word sense gratification is used in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand the sense gratification of the senses, sense gratification of the mind, sense gratification of the intelligence, sense gratification of the ego itself, the self itself, false self. So, we have to have a clear understanding of our situation. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that he gives his hierarchy of selves. The lowest self, the working senses, matter, then working senses, then the mind, then the intelligence, then the soul is higher than him. And that soul who is higher than him, either he can create a false self-concept, which is false ego, or he can directly also engage this material yantra. So, the total situation of the living entity in the material world, we have to understand from the perspective in which Krishna has revealed in the Bhagavad Gita, that these are the different parts, there are different sections of the soul or person, you can say. A person means body, senses. A person means his mind, emotions. A person means he has intelligence, he has understanding. He gets sensation of, what is the gratification of the intelligence? Is sensation of understanding, comprehending. We all enjoy comprehending things, understanding things. Now you are sitting and hearing this Bhagavatam class. Your senses are all, your gross senses are all silent. But your intelligent senses is very alert. The intelligence, the sense called intelligence is anticipating comprehension, understanding. And then when you understand something, you feel good about it. When you don't understand something, then you feel pain about it. Doubt, pain, all these things. And then the process of understanding for the intellect is to understand from the bona fide process, descending process of knowledge. Unauthorized, perverted, useless, futile use of intelligence is mental speculation. Everything can be used and misused. So sense gratification means, we need to, our whole Krishna conscious philosophy is about decreasing sense gratification. We cannot make it zero in this body. When we eat, we have to taste. We have to sleep. All these aspects are eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are all forces in this yantra. So this sense gratification means all this. Not only this, not only eating, sleeping, mating, defending, emotional life, intellectual life, life of power in the society, which is the ego, false ego, the social self. We have created an identity for ourselves. I am a member of this society who look like this, I am a man, I am this. It's all after birth it's created. And then you project yourself into the society. It is called the social self, the false ego. Bodily concept of life, and once you think I am the body, then I am a member of this body is a member of this society. That is called social self, which is the false ego. So we are living this life, artificial life, everything is being fueled by the super soul sitting in this yantra as a kind friend, suhridam sarvabhutanam. He is giving an opportunity for the living entities who otherwise cannot touch matter. They are living entity. The jiva has no capacity to move matter. Matter is different, spirit is different. Only Krishna, super soul, by his divine touch, every living entity, karmi, non-karmi, devotee, everybody is moving material energy, means it is because of the presence of the super soul. The atoms are moving, electrons are moving because of the presence of the super soul. Nothing moves without the will. Let's differentiate between sweet will and the will of power. That means, you see, will, you can also say that will can be like, sometimes will is wish. One connotation is will means wish. Another is will means the power to move. The power to move anything in this matter, material energy, is belonging to the super soul. So that is why Prabhupada in some purport writes that the devotees, they don't do anything without permission of the Lord. Why? Because it is His. I may have free will. I means who? The soul may have free will. But that free will cannot turn into a moving power in this material world. I may wish to lift my hand, but it doesn't become, I may wish to lift my hand. But if I lift my hand, it is not the spirit who has got the power to lift this hand. That is the meaning of saying not a blade of grass will move without the sanction of the Lord. There are two kinds of sanction of the Lord. One is every movement is sanctioned by the Lord. That sanctioning is not online sanctioning. That sanctioning is just like everything in the forest is growing because of the rain that is falling on the ground, in the forest. But the mango tree, the jackfruit tree, the different kinds of trees that are coming out of the rain. The rain is not the direct cause. Mango seed took rain and became a mango tree. But even when it has become a mango tree, rain is an important factor. So in the same way, it's a constant factor. If any tree has to grow in the forest, it should have got rain. In the same way, as I said, two types of will of the Lord. By His arrangement, by His creation, He has given that facility or freedom for the living entity to move the material energy. Freedom. I want to use my hand to murder someone, I can use it. He's given that freedom. He has given that freedom doesn't mean that, freedom, how you are moving the hand. Soul is different, body is different. How we are moving the hand. Just like rain is a constant factor for every growth in the forest. In the same way, the Lord's interface between matter and spirit simply is presence in the super soul. Presence as a super soul, we are able to move matter. If super soul comes out of the material energy, then everything is finished. So that is one kind of will. Another kind of will that the super soul does is what? He sanctions the fruits. Upadrishta and Anumanta. He is seeing the past, present, future. And he is guiding the living entity through the process of law of karma, through the process of effort. The living entity is seated in the heart of every living entity, and every living entity is getting his fruits because of the sanction of the Lord. So two things. The material energy itself we are able to move every moment. The so-called freedom that we have, is actually a borrowed freedom, is given freedom, is a freedom given to us. Because the material energy is Lord's, He is all powerful, He can move matter. We cannot move matter. So just see that how presence of the active presence of the super soul has to be perceived according to the Shastras. Active role, active presence of the super soul in this material creation. Not that God is somewhere far away. He is everywhere. When we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, that Vasudeva is an all-pervading aspect of the Lord. So the Supreme Lord, the sense of, every power that we have to move material nature, we should develop a sense of non-proprietorship. Illusorily it appears that I am the proprietor of my strength, I can lift my hand if I want. But actually it is given to me. Now using my free will, I can use or misuse this power to move material energy. This is very important. Just like if you have money, you take the power to move material energy is just like, compare with money, very easy to understand. If you have money, the money can be spent properly or money can be misused also. So constantly, if you are a good businessman, you constantly see, I will not invest money here. Not only that, if you simply say, I will not invest money somewhere, your business will not grow. You also have to think, I have to invest where it has to be invested. So, our real use of free will is in utilizing, in saying yes and no, or not doing and doing. What is to be done, what is not to be done. As per the scriptures, investment of free will. You separate free will from willing power. You use your free will to use your willing power. Free will is take it as a meaning, in the meaning of wishing. The language issue is there. In Sanskrit, free will is called Ichcha. Ichcha Shakti. Doing is called Sankalpa Shakti. Two separate things. So we have to use our free will to invest this moving power. Let's take this body, all the senses. You got freedom to do so many things with this body. But one should not think that I have, no problem. Just because I have money, one should not think now I can do whatever I want with it. No. You have to invest it properly. Similarly, every power that we have, this bodily power, mental power, intellectual power, financial power, influential power, that is at my disposal. I have to use my free will to invest it properly. And investing that properly, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, how a person in the mode of goodness, he knows what to do, what not to do. That is a symptom. So intelligence is required, sattvic intelligence is required to exercise, to choose to act or not to act. The path of devotional service means the path of action for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Path of devotion means path of action. And action means there are so many things you should not do, so many things you should do. But then our yantra, when it has to do something, it will say, don't do. When you are not supposed to do, your yantra will say, do. So there is a Shastric injunctions of do's and don'ts. And there is a karmic body which has its own force, Kala's force, which may match, it may not match. Shastra says do, your mind will say don't do. Shastra says don't do, you will say do. Your yantra will say do. So purification means my do's will go with Shastra's do, my don'ts will go with Shastra's don'ts. For to come to that level, that is actually the first level of surrender. Obedience to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra is the first level of surrender. First step of surrender. To accept things favorable for devotion service and reject things which are not favorable for devotion service. And to do this, one has to have faith in scriptures, one has to have faith in spiritual master. Otherwise, it's very difficult to follow this path of devotional service. So as Prabhupada says in this purport, Lord unwillingly has created this material world for the sense gratification of the living entity. As I explained, sense gratification means comprehensive sense gratification. The English word, when we use sense gratification, we generally connote that I should control my five senses. No. Here sense gratification means, no independent gratification of the five senses, the mind and the intelligence. And the master of all that is the soul, who is actually enjoying through the mind, through the senses, who is enjoying sense gratification. The path of devotion service is the path where one develops the higher taste of soul pleasure. Soul pleasure is atindriya. Atindriya means it's not indriya pleasure. Should not even use the word pleasure. Again, so many word limitations are. Pleasure means there is a connotation about senses. So in the scriptures automatically, immediately they define atindriya sukham. That means the sukham which is beyond senses. So atindriya sukham means it's a sense of satisfaction of giving pleasure. Giving pleasure. It is not your sense pleasure. Giving pleasure to Krishna's mind. Giving pleasure to Krishna's intelligence. Giving pleasure to Krishna's senses. That is giving pleasure. So any action performed in giving pleasure to Krishna, that is actually spiritual pleasure. But now we are not in a position to experience that spiritual pleasure. If we are able to experience that spiritual pleasure, then we would automatically give up all lower tastes. In sadhana stage, yes, that spiritual giving up, spiritual material pleasure, tasting that higher pleasure, that is what is being trained in sadhana bhakti, especially in japa, in chanting. Without desiring anything, there also in chanting, don't come down to the material platform of asking anything from the Lord, doing anything for anything material. You are serving the holy name for the sake of serving the holy name. At that instant, the holy name is before me, and for serving that holy name, that is all the only aim during japa. So we are training our mind to give pleasure to the holy name. The holy name, Prabhupada and Krishna, the Guru is satisfied, Guru is happy when the living entity chants the holy name or does his sadhana or obeys the spiritual master. Then the Guru is satisfied, then Krishna is satisfied, Yasya Prasadat, Bhagavat Prasadat. This is the only purpose for which I am chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This training should be there. Otherwise, we are always, when we do something, we are fruity mentality such that anything we say, there is a fruit. When you chant Hare Krishna also, you think, what is the fruit? What is the fruit? Materially we think, what is the fruit? It's like a utilizing facility. It's like a exploiting thing. Exploiting mentality. Anything you touch, Okay, now how to extract something from that? When you chant Hare Krishna, how to extract something from that? I am doing devotion service, how to extract something from that? You are separating yourself, your desire. It's actually Lord's desire. What is there to extract? You don't do devotion service to extract something. You do devotion service to give your own soul. Devotion service should be done in the spirit of surrender, of giving, not for taking anything. Constantly our conditioning is to take something out of every situation, not about giving to the Lord. So Prabhupada ends the purport by saying that Sarva Dharman Parityaja, simple in one statement, Krishna has told what pleases me. Whatever you do in the material world, whatever dharma you follow does not please me, you surrender to me. That's all. Surrender to me means I have sent devotees, I have come myself as avatara, I have sent everything, shastras. What is surrender to me? What is it that obedience to me is all given there? Follow those things and surrender to me. I have given my will, I have given my wish in the Bhagavad Gita. Now you surrender to me. That is only dharma. No other dharmas. Any questions? Mike.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, you said that we living entities, we have got this exploiting nature.
Huh?
Exploiting nature.
Yeah.
So what is the root cause of this exploiting nature that we have got?
Root cause of this exploiting nature is our sense of disconnection from Krishna, which is called independence. We are eternally connected to Krishna. We are eternally part and parcel of Krishna. We are substantially inseparable from Krishna. But by imagination, you separate yourself from Krishna. By your spiritual imagination, that's called ignorance. In the material, when you separate, you use your spiritual imagination to be independent. It is, this material illusory world is created for living entities who want to be independent of the Lord. And independent means forgetfulness that I belong to Him. See, who in the material world walking around saying that I belong to Krishna? Nobody. Only devotees. Even devotees don't. Only pure devotees. I am inseparable from Krishna. I am Krishna's. Only pure devotees have that consciousness. So that is the cause of this exploiting nature. When I am independent, I have to provide for myself. Then I have to exploit the universe for myself. That exploiting mentality. This exploiting mentality, controlling mentality, manipulating mentality, these are all very big anarthas. We have to be very, very careful in bhakti. Sometimes one's controlling tendency is used in devotion service. If he chants properly and simultaneously is in association of devotees, one will burn those things. But if one is not in association of devotees, and one is not guided spiritually properly, one would think that the success that he gains from his manipulating tendency and his controlling tendency is great devotion service, he will think. Krishna and Prabhupada is very merciful that he may allow my controlling tendency to be dovetailed in Krishna's service. But one should not just focus on the result alone. Somebody who has got a more controlling tendency may produce more results. No problem. But at least he should know, whatever you have, you should offer to Krishna. You have controlling tendency, you offer to Krishna. You know controlling tendency, there you cannot offer. You have some other tendency, you offer that to Krishna. Rajoguna means controlling tendency. Tamoguna, what can you do? You have no controlling tendency at all. Tamoguna means in the material world also bad karma. Little good, better karma is Rajoguna. So in devotional service, we have to be very, very, very careful how we measure devotion. We should not try to measure devotion. You should try to measure one's own self. You should try to measure how much I am surrendered. Not how much I did with my controlling tendency, this thing. This measurement it's so foolish. As just now we explained, every karmic ability, I am the ability in man, why Krishna is saying. Because he is the one who has got the ability. The super soul is the one who's the ability, and then you say that it's me. And I take credit. Any other question?
From time immemorial, we have got this tendency of manipulating, controlling, exploiting. As you rightly said, even in devotional service, what I'm going to get out of what I'm doing. Though we know, and we will be consciously trying to avoid it, but because of past conditioning, particularly while doing service, spontaneously we will do that kind of thing. Whatever we do, there is something in it for me. How to consciously, even though we want avoid, but sometime, rather many times.
No, that is called, simultaneously we associate with Krishna and start developing higher taste in chanting, reading, all those things. And simultaneously, day by day, we try to increase the quality of our devotional offering. So no doubt, mixed devotional service means there is something for yourself. Even if you're consciously trying to be without motivation, subconscious there is motivation. I am sincere. Nobody should say, I am very sincere in my devotion service. You can say, I am consciously sincere. I am trying, at least as far as my consciousness can, I am trying to be sincere. But there is a subconscious mind is pushing us into so many activities. So that will have motivation. That is between that you don't have to worry. What is the subconscious push? It is Lord's wish how to dovetail you. The super soul is there in your heart, and his Guru and Krishna is guiding, and he is burning away your anarthas. So those are all the whole process, anartha nivritti stage. We go through this whole process. So we have to be little alert that we cannot simply like a bull run and do your service like a bull, like karmis do. You have to have some breaks. What is my false ego? What is the fruity mentality? Why I am looking at this, etc., etc. That you have to. So it's a challenge. Just see. When you do devotion service, when you do preaching, when you build temple, when you do organized things, you have to understand that there is a bigger challenge simultaneous to producing result. There is a challenge for me. I have to tackle both challenges. Then the devotee will advance. Otherwise, if suppose somebody is doing that service and some material fruits are coming out of it, the whole society is saying, great, 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 you are a good collector, you are a great collector, you are a great collector, you are a great collector, everybody is saying. This is how Maya is acting. Does it mean that, now we should put a ban on praising devotees for collection? That also you cannot do, because then you will never test him, no. We are not Mayavadis. We have to praise him, and that fellow has to pass the test. So society will praise. There is an injunction. You have to glorify the Vaishnavas. You glorify the Vaishnava cannot eat that glory. He has to understand what to do with that glory. He has to pass it on to Prabhupada. He has to understand this is not my ability. These are the opportunities. Then the devotee is getting purified. His measure of success is inside. Devotee's measure of success is not in the community of devotees. His measure of success is inside, in his heart. That is why I said, the first project for everybody is not the external project, is his own Krishna consciousness.
Here it said, to gratify the senses, he is creating this world.
Yeah.
So which means, probably in the spiritual world, there is something called a sense gratification, because everybody is acting as a sense of the Lord. So there is no sense gratification in that sense, because it is the Lord. Everybody is acting as part and parcel of the Lord. But here, they are acting independent of the Lord. So he has to arrange the gratification.
Right. But there, in the spiritual world, there is a difference between enjoyment of the senses and seeking enjoyment of the senses. So in the spiritual world is full of senses, beautiful things to see, beautiful smell, beautiful senses are full of, are also full of enjoyment. Like Prabhupada says in the lecture yesterday, saying we are everything is there. So now here in this material world, the desire is for me. There the desire is for Krishna. And your senses, how do they enjoy? They enjoy prasadam. Krishna gratifies your senses. You gratify Krishna's senses. But you never seek your sense gratification. You never seek. Senses are there, enjoyment is there. Every enjoyment that the living entity has got is pushed upon the living entity by the mercy of the Lord. Prasadam means mercy. It's a very nice thing to understand in the material world. Here, when we are there, when we have prasadam, we think of eating prasadam. But in the spiritual world, the devotee understands that every enjoyment is prasadam. That means mercy of the Lord, kripa of the Lord. So, spiritual life, there, yes, but here, as you said, in the material world, total disconnected kind of sense enjoyment. I earn my sense enjoyment. In the spiritual world, you never earn your sense enjoyment. You never have a sense of earning anything. That earning is called fruity mentality. Here I have a fruity mentality. I earn for the fruits of my senses. There's my
Hare-Krishna Prabhu, please correct me if I'm wrong. Prabhu, you said there is no compulsion for the Lord.
There is no
compulsion for the Lord
compulsions,
to satisfy the desires of the living entity. But as Paramatma, he is actually sanctioning, no Prabhu. He say that we've heard Prabhupada telling that he sanctions every desire of the Lord.
Yeah,
so how do we understand this?
It's not, that's what I said. The entire material world, it is his. There's only one thing that compels the Lord is his love. Lord has no compulsions. Compulsions mean nobody can push him, nobody can force him to do anything. But at the same time, you have to understand that the Lord has loving compassion, compulsions. In loving relationships, there are compulsions, no? There are compulsions in loving relationship. So that is the only compulsion that the Lord has got. Now, with respect to all the living entities in the material world, the Lord's love is no less. We have forgotten the Lord, we don't love the Lord. But the Lord loves every jiva. So which is the best way that He can relate with the living entities? This is the only way He can relate with the living entity. You want freedom, you want to forget me, you want to enjoy yourself. Please, I will create a material world for your sense enjoyment. As much, as long as you want, you be there. I will be with you as Paramatma. I will give you, as you go on earning the sense gratification, I will sanction. So his sanctioning, the Lord's sanctioning, is again it's a ye tamam prapadyante tam sate bhajamiham. Just like if you see the Lord, the Father is very loving to the children. But sometimes the Father also gets angry in the interest of the children. So unwillingly the Father may punish the child. In the same way, unwillingly the Lord is creating this material world, knowing very well this sense gratification will never make them happy. Okay, go, try it. So that is the point of like for instance, devotees pray to the Lord. The Lord has no limitations. Siddha Sankalpa, anything He wishes stuck, it happens. You want something from the Lord, it can happen. But you should understand that Lord can do anything, but He will have loving compulsions. Suppose you go and pray to the Lord, let something happen to this devotee. He is hurting me so much, let something happen to this Lord. Teach him a lesson. Let this particular thing happen to this devotee. The Lord has loving compassion. He will not listen to you. He loves him also. That is what. The Lord has absolutely no compulsions except loving compulsions. Compulsions out of loving relationships. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.